Hi, I'm Angela from Sleeping Bear Cabin Craft, and today I'm talking to you about lessons learned as a first year beekeeper. Now, this time I'm going to talk to you about the things that I did wrong. There's a lot of storytelling on this, and it's can be funny now. Maybe it wasn't funny at the time, but here are some stories from my first year. So, probably my first story that I'm going to tell, and it was the most traumatic, I think, as a first year beekeeper, is I killed my queen. I couldn't even admit to it for a while because I was so ashamed. And I have learned since then that it does happen. But what happened is it was early summer. I went into Queen Beatrix's hive, and I was so excited. I found honey, not just honey, but honeycomb. So I had a little bit too much space in the honey super, and they just built comb. And so I got very excited. I took it out and I'm like, okay, well, I'll just cut it off. I'll just cut off this extra comb and then I'll have this honeycomb and I can use it for things. So that's what I did. I cut it off and I put it back into the hive. And I was excited, happy about, all was right in the world. And then I came back to look at the hive later that day and there was bearding on the hive. I was like, okay, well, they do that. But then I noticed they looked like wet dogs. The girls, they were slicked back. They had been coated with honey. So what had happened is I cut off the comb and there were the cells were exposed, so they started dripping out. So the extra honey was dripping out right through the center of the hive and it was coating the bees. So, it's like, oh, that's awful. I hate that happened. And I was like, okay, some of the bees, they're going to die. And, but, I mean, it's not that much honey, right? So that's what I thought until I started thinking about it. And I thought about it. And the next time that I went to go look in the hive, I noticed I didn't find the queen. Not only did I not find the queen, there were no larvae, no eggs, nothing. So then I realized I had killed my queen. So then it was like, okay, so what do I do? Many people go out and buy another queen. I enjoy the honey production idea, but at the same time, I think my girls can do things on their own because they are creatures that know what to do in this situation. So what do they do in this situation? They make a new queen. I saw that there were some queen cells and, I was like, okay, I'm going to leave it up to them and, see how they do. It was several weeks of just kind of crossing my fingers, hoping that they would make another queen. And then a few weeks down the line, when I was doing my inspections, I saw eggs and I saw larvae. And that is when Queen Boudica, that's when I knew that she was there, she was healthy, and she was doing her job. So I was very elated from that. I also learned from it. So hopefully in the future, if that situation comes up again, I'll know not to do that. Maybe I'll have some better ways of handling the situation. So that is one of the lessons learned. So one of the lessons learned from the very beginning was the hive height. You can see behind me, it doesn't look like it's very high, but I am not very tall. When I first got my colony, of course, it was very short, but then they grew, and so did the hive. And now, at the far end here, it is very difficult for me to inspect the hive unless I take the boxes actually off. That is something that I learned. You don't want them on the ground, but I would say for the next hive stand that we create, it'll probably be maybe 6 inches shorter. And also, not only that, I have the medium boxes. I think what I'm going to do next year is going to have a medium brood box, and then have the smaller boxes on the top. So kind of build from there instead of having the large ones. One of the things that has been the most difficult for me has been learning how to use the smoker. I still don't think that I am proficient with it. You wouldn't think that that'd be the most difficult thing in beekeeping, but for me, honestly, it has been. It's been difficult, but I also have a fun story about that. When I first started with the bees, I'd have all my gear on, I'd work with the smoker, and with the smoker, you have to be over it and you have to light it and, get everything kind of going. Well, there was one time where I did it, I had it all, everything was going well. And so, I did my hive inspections. And then when I was done, I noticed I had actually burned a hole in my veil. I am so happy that the girls were in a good mood that day because that could have been a very bad day. I could have had a veil full of bees. So, I was very, very, very lucky, and that is something to look out for. So now when I light my smoker, I do it away from my face so that I don't have that issue, or I hope to not have that issue. So these next two have to do with moisture. I did not realize how moisture really plays into beekeeping. I am here in Georgia and it is very humid. So, what I have found is when I am all suited up in Georgia and it's 100 degrees outside, it gets sweaty. So, what you don't want to do is keep your bee suit wadded up because guess what? You're going to get mold and it is not easy to get out, or it's actually probably impossible to get out, and you can ruin a lot of uniforms that way. So don't let your uniform mold. So what I have been doing is that if it is hot and humid, is I'll actually clean my uniform. Also, another note on cleaning the uniform: I do not use detergents or anything. I just run it through without any cleaners at all, and it cleans fine. The bees don't care. Also, with moisture, is when the hive is warm, there can be condensation. And so what happens then is what goes up must come down. It comes down and it pools as water. So if your hives are not slightly tilted downwards, what'll happen is water will pool inside the bottom of your hive and the bees will get into it and they can actually drown. And that was happening and I did not realize it. And then I saw the pooling water. I was like, oh no. And I tilted it a little bit and it was like a whole wave of water coming out. So since then, you can see in the back of me, I have the hives and they're slightly tilted downwards so that if there is any condensation, any water, it'll come running out. So thank you for listening to my stories, and I hope you learn from my mistakes, and hopefully you can learn from them. So until next time, see you soon.